Assalamualaikum my dear students. I hope you are safe and staying healthy. Today we will be revising adjectives. So let us begin our lesson with what an adjective is. An adjective is a word that describes a noun or a pronoun. These are the describing words. Now since the adjective is a describing word, it can compare two or more nouns or pronouns through their description. Adjectives are the essence of any creative writing. They adorn your writing, therefore they come in many different ways. Some types of adjectives are color adjectives like orange, green, blue, red, and pink. Size adjectives like short, gigantic, and tiny. Shape adjectives like wavy, round, and straight. And you can also have texture adjectives like smooth, sticky, and of course, fluffy.
He's so fluffy, I'm gonna die!
Adjectives can also describe what something looks, tastes, smells, feels, and sounds like. For example, the bed looks comfortable. The cookies taste scrumptious. The sweet scent. The creepy crawly. The music is very noisy. Just as Tom found out, an adjective has 3 degrees. The first adjective degree is called the positive. It is used to describe one thing, group, or a person. For example, a huge box, a tiny helmet, a pretty lady, or a confusing title. The second degree is called the comparative degree. It is used to describe two things, people, or groups. For example, Ali is taller than Sarah. The Pink Panther is more compassionate than Tom. The third degree is known as the superlative degree. It is used to compare more than two things, people, or groups. For example, Ira is the cutest of them all, or he is brightest student of them all. So you have the positive degree to describe one thing, group, or person, the comparative degree for two things, and the superlative degree for more than two things, people, or groups. From the positive degree, you can make the comparative and the superlative forms. Now let's look at how you can make the comparative form first. For some words, you have to add er to an adjective to make the comparative form. For example, you have the adjective small. The only thing that you need to do is add er to it. Smaller. Now you have the comparative form. Fast. Add er to it. You have the comparative form. Faster. Smart. Add er to it again, and you have the comparative form. Smarter. But then too, there's a reason I haven't written for all words, and instead I've written for some words. Because there are other words that cannot form the comparative with the addition of er. For the other words, you have to add more before the adjective to form the comparative form. For example, you have more beautiful, more talented, and more interesting. Now so you cannot add er to beautiful, to talented, to interesting. You only have to write more before beautiful so that you can come up with the comparative. Because if you write beautifuler, that would be grammatically incorrect. So you can either form the comparative with addition of er or you can just add more before the adjective. Moving on to the third degree, the superlative degree. Now, just as you have two ways to form the comparative of any adjective, there are two ways to form the superlative adjective as well. For some words, add est to an adjective to make the superlative form. Taking the same way examples from before, small, follow it up with an est and you get the superlative form, smallest. Fast, add est to it, fastest. Smart, add est to it and you get smartest, that is the superlative form. Just as in the comparative form, you do not have to add er to the adjective to make it comparative in all cases. It's the same in the superlative form. You cannot add est to all of the adjectives that you have. For the other words, what you can do is you can add most before the adjective to form them. The superlative form of the adjective beautiful is not beautifulest because the comparative form is not beautifuler. So you have most beautiful. Then it's the same case with most talented and then interesting as well. You just need to add most before it to form the superlative form. Now, since every conversion requires a set of rules, there are two important rules to remember when making the comparative and the superlative form. Let's look at the first way rule. If the adjective ends with a y, replace it with the letter I and then add er or est. So instead of the adjective that is ending in y, instead of that letter y at the end, you'll write I instead. And then to make the comparative, of course, you'll add er, or to make the superlative, you will add est. For explanation purpose, let's look at the word pretty. Now you all know pretty ends with a y. So according to the rule, we'll replace the y with an I. So once you change it, now because we need to form the comparative degree first, you'll simply add er to it. P-R-E-T-T-I and then you'll add er. For the superlative degree to form, you'll simply add est to the pretty that you formed with an I. Right? The same rule would go for words like noisy, happy, or lazy. Next, rule number 2. If the adjective is one syllable and ends with a single consonant with a vowel before it, then double the consonant and add er or est. Now, before we move on to an example of an adjective, let's recall what a syllable is. A syllable is a single unbroken sound of a spoken word. For example, hot, short, small, thin, or sun. These are all examples of one syllable words because the sound does not break when you're speaking the word. Next, vowel. What are vowels? A, E, I, O, U are the 5 vowels in the alphabet. If you remove these 5 letters from the alphabet, you're left with the consonants. All of the remaining letters, they are known as the consonants. For example, B, you have C, and the rest. Now, since we know all of the terms, let's move on to the example. Hot. Hot is a one-syllable word. It ends with a consonant with a vowel before it. So O is a vowel, T is a consonant, and since it is a consonant, according to the rule, we need to double the consonant. So we'll write double T, H-O-T-T, and then for the comparative form, we'll add ER, whereas for the superlative form, we'll simply add EST. Let's take another one-syllable word, thin. I is a vowel, N is a consonant, and since N is a consonant, we'll double it up, THI, N, and then add ER to form the comparative. And then for the superlative degree, we'll add EST like we did with hot. So whenever you have a one-syllable word and it ends with a consonant, and before it there's a vowel, you'll always double up the consonant. But there are exceptions, such as the word slow, that do not follow the double consonant rule. Now, W is also called the semi-vowel, but let's not get into it. So, remember this, that slow would not turn the W into a double W, right? You won't add another W to it to form the comparative or the superlative form. That would be incorrect. So, yes, it has one syllable. Yes, it ends with a consonant that has a vowel behind it. But the W at the end will definitely not double. And so when you form the comparative of the adjective slow, you'll get slower with an ER and with the single W, and the superlative would be slowest with a single W as well. Keep the conversion and the rules in mind, and that's all about the adjectives that you need to know. Yeah, that was all about the adjectives, and that brings us to the end of the lesson. And I do hope that you understood the lesson perfectly. See you all very, very soon, inshallah. Take care and stay safe. Enhance your creativity at home. I miss you all so very much. Goodbye. Allah Hafiz.